just such an honor to be here. As you've heard, we have Congressman Payne and Congresswoman Lee here, which is such an honor. We'll talk a bit more about that in a second. We also have Lisa Babani here, who is the Deputy Chair of the Morristown Democratic Committee. Thank you so much, Lisa. We also have Shala Gagliardi, who's running for clerk. Yeah. Important race here. We have Kathy Wilson. Thank you. Morris Township Committee this year. Who else do we have? We already mentioned
School board member Leonard Posey.
School board member.
Right here.
Oh, Leonard. Sorry about that. How are you? Nice to see you. Thanks for coming out this morning. And then, okay, I'm missing somebody. Okay, we mentioned, yeah, we got Mary. We can say her again. Mary. All right, well, thank you all. I really appreciate it. This is a great morning, and it's such an honor to have Congresswoman Lee here. And you know, what really impresses me about the Congresswoman is that she understands, like we understand, that when one group is under attack, other groups are under attack. That when some individuals' civil rights are being attacked, that there are a lot of other individuals that fall under that attack. And so Congresswoman Lee has been so impressive. She is somebody who's on the Congressional Black Caucus. She is someone who's fought hard for women's rights. She started the LGBTQ caucus in Congress. She has consistently fought for people's civil rights, not just women, not just LGBT people, not just minorities, but people across the political spectrum, because she knows how important that is. So it's truly an honor here to have her here today. She's also a member of the Appropriations Committee. So when we are lucky enough to have a member of the Appropriations Committee, and I think we might be flipping the House of Representatives, so we might have some good Democrats setting the agenda. I always kind of like to mention something near and dear to our hearts, the Gateway Tunnel. We would love to see the Gateway Tunnel. Here in New Jersey. It is one of the most critical infrastructure projects in our nation right now, and we know that we have heard some southern state congresspeople say, oh, that's a New York, New Jersey problem, but we here know that it's a 20-state in the Northeast Rail Corridor problem, and if that tunnel goes down, that 1910 tunnel where the Porter Bridge swings over and a guy with a hammer has to swing it shut, we know that that'll lose $100 million in revenue a day. That it'll affect the whole Northeast corridor, and that here in the Northeast we produce about 20% of the nation's GDP. So I just wanted to put that in the back of your mind. Just put that in the back of your mind, think about it. Even better, even better. And you know, I'm also so happy to have Congressman Payne here. So Congressman Payne and I were talking, and we sat down, and it's interesting because I sat down before the primary to talk to him about my race, and I earned his endorsement. And we probably meant to sit down for a quick meeting, grab a cup of coffee. We ended up talking for over an hour because Congressman Payne and I really share a concern about criminal justice reform in this country and a concern about gun safety legislation. You know, he said something that I think a lot of us know who've worked in a lot of our cities, that, you know, while here in Morristown, we're really worried about our kids' safety at school. We're really worried that our kids, you know, can have a safe space at school. Congressman Payne, you know, mentioned, and he's right, he's worried about his kids safely making it to school and not getting shot on their way to school. So this has long been a concern for a lot of our cities. Gun safety legislation, it is past time that we had universal background checks, that we made sure domestic abusers did not have access to guns. We know, and I know because I was in the military for almost 10 years, that there are weapons of war that should not be on the streets of New Jersey. So I know you will be a strong supporter of gun safety legislation. But thank you again. Hi, Willie. I'm hiding in the back. Thank you again, everyone, for coming today. Again, just to give you a little bit of my background, some of you are new to the race, and I appreciate you coming out. I was in the Navy for almost 10 years. I was a helicopter pilot, and at the end of my tour, I was a Russian policy officer. So I handled all of the interactions between the United States Navy and the Russian Federation Navy. And then I came home to serve again here in New Jersey at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Newark. And I'll tell you, that kind of service was really modeled for me by my grandfather, who was a World War II veteran. And I've been thinking a lot about service lately because, you know, when Senator John McCain passed away, he reminded me a little bit of what service to country looks like when you represent a state or a district in the United States Congress. Because he was somebody who I think always tried to put the country first. And I disagreed with a lot of his votes, but he always tried to fix his mistakes. He always tried to think about the country, and you always knew that, you know, whether or not you agreed with him, he was really trying to work hard for this country. And I was thinking about that because, you know, right now, I'm often reminded of a lesson I learned in the Navy. The worst thing you can do in the United States Navy is to run a ship aground. And yet often when you investigate that, you find people on the bridge of the ship knew it was going to run aground, and they don't say anything. And sometimes it's because they're afraid of the captain, or they don't think it's their job, or they think someone else will say something. But they put their own self-interest ahead of the ship and its crew. And I'm thinking about service, and I'm thinking about service to country because right now, I think we have too many people in Congress who are putting their own self-interest ahead of this country and the people they were elected to serve.
Yes.
Yes. And so that's why I'm working so hard to get into Congress, so I can join people like Congresswoman Lee and Congressman Payne, who are fighting for all of us, who are fighting for this country and working hard so we can live in a more just, better America. That's what we're striving for. And I tell you, right now in New Jersey, we're getting hit pretty hard from Congress, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this tax plan was worse for our state than any state in the nation.
Yeah.
Congresswoman Lee, you're probably like second. We know that getting the cap on the state and local tax deduction was so bad for our middle class families who are having trouble sometimes just making it to the end of the month. We know that not having quality and affordable health care for people in this country is so hard on our families. And really, sometimes the difference between having a successful middle-class lifestyle and you know, going bankrupt is whether or not a child or a parent gets ill. We know that if we don't get this Gateway Tunnel funded, that we can't grow live the house, that we can't grow our economy here in North Jersey and create the jobs now and well into the future, because we also know here that 85% of the people leaving New Jersey right now are between the ages of 18 to 25. That's our future. That's our future right there. And if we don't grow our economy and provide good jobs for them, you know, it's going to be really hard to have the kind of future, the kind of robust economy here in New Jersey we know we're capable of. And I'll just tell you, you know, my opponent, Assemblyman Webber, he has always put his own partisan ideology before the people of this district, or the people of his legislative district in the state assembly. And so we see he's for this tax plan, for a tax plan that no member of the North Jersey delegation supported. Neither Frelinghuysen nor Land supported it and voted against it. The Chamber of Commerce, which is generally a fairly Republican organization, said it was going to ruin our economy. We know that he is somebody that was for the repeal bill. And as I say, I don't call it the repeal and replace bill because I did not see a plan to replace the health care that thousands of people would have lost. So he is somebody that we know doesn't share our values. He voted to defund Planned Parenthood, and we know New Jersey was the first state in the nation to defund Planned Parenthood. The first state in the nation under Christie, and we saw rates of breast cancer go up, and breast cancer screenings go down, and STDs go up. We know he worked really hard to have an amendment to our Constitution to ban gay marriage. We know he was one of the only people in the Assembly. He was the only person in the Assembly, in fact, to vote against health insurance for people suffering from opioid addiction. He was one of only 2 people in the entire state legislature to vote against equal pay for women a couple months ago. So this is not somebody we want representing us in Congress. And thank you so much. Thank you to all of you for coming out. I, again, am so honored to introduce Congresswoman Lee, who has just been such a strong fighter for all of our values here in New Jersey. I really appreciate you coming out here.